So this is part 3 of our modifying table view rows lesson. Let's just review what the app does so far. So I'll run the application. I'll run our application. Our application basically is called Scheduler. What does Scheduler do? Scheduler basically creates an event, a scheduled event, and it adds it to our table view. So yesterday we were able to create some dummy data for our table view. The dummy data we had was basically just some random events. We created some random events so our table view doesn't start off being empty, correct? So yesterday, this is what we stopped. We had a table view with the events that we created. We were able to swipe a row and delete an event. So as you swipe across a row, you are able to delete an event, right? So we added the way to delete. The actual method that does this deletion here, every time the user swipes across, there's a method that gets called. The method that gets called is in our schedule list controller. If we go down to our schedule list controller, this particular method here on our data source, it's called table view commit for row at index path. That particular method gets called when the user swipes to delete. Everybody with me? When I swipe to delete, that particular method gets called. In that method, you could perform your deletion logic. The editing style is a parameter on this particular method. This editing style here is a parameter on our method. What is editing style? Editing style is an enum. It's an enumeration of different cases. One case is insert, a second case is delete, and the third case is a default case where nothing is happening. Yes, Mel, go ahead.
I just want to know where that file, because the one I have is the one that we did together when I was here, and it doesn't have anything.
Go to our second resource and go to the project. So what I'm saying is, as I said earlier today, make sure that we have those two resources. The second resource is where we have our lecture notes, right? So if you go to the second repo and you scroll down to where it says modifying, number 12 here, and if you click on it, it takes you to the repo. So if I click on it here, it takes us to our repo yesterday, right? This is the project we're working on right now. It's called Scheduler. And you're able to clone it to your desktop. So come tomorrow, if for anything we need tomorrow, we have it in here. I could clone it and see what the code looks like. In some cases, I don't even need to clone it. If I need to get to a particular view controller, I might not need to clone. I could navigate here. I could go to Scheduler, for example. I could go to our first view controller and see the code. So unless you want to actually see the code run, right, you could just see what the code is. Everybody with me? You clone only if you want to see the actual project getting run. If you're just interested in a model or a view controller, navigate GitHub and see the file. You could even copy the file. Everybody with me? Okay. Mel, were you able to get it? So clone it and run it. Yes, sir.
You wanted to replace the net.
Yeah, I just updated the struct a little bit with the contents of the data, the dummy data for the table view. Mel, did you get it? You don't need to fork it. You could just clone. Right? Forking is when you want to change something in that project. But clone is if you simply want to copy that project. Right? Everybody? I fork if I want to change something or I want to make a pull request against that repo. And I clone if I simply just want to get a copy of the repo.
LT Struct is also on the Slack channel, so can you just copy and paste that into our?
Yes, it's on the Slack channel.
Okay, so
No, the reason why I came here because Mel was not here yesterday, so I was pointing her in the right direction to get the projects we've worked on before. Okay? So any project we've worked on before, it's here. If it's not here, let me know, because it should be. At the end of the day, I post it. At the end of the day, I get home, I put it there, I make sure everything we've done is updated. Okay, cool. So Mel, you good? Up and running? Almost? All right, very good. So let's go back here. So the very key method, if I want to delete on a table view, let's remember, the important method here is called commit for row, okay? Table view commit for row. That is the data source method. Let's see where that's coming from, right? Again, this is a UI table view data source method. So if I simply say UI table view data source, I go to the documentation here. I scroll down. Right here. Those are the key methods we're looking at. Can everybody see in the back? Can everybody see in the back? Again, I'm on the UI table view data source API documentation, right? I want to know something about that API, that's where I go. What can I do with the data source methods? What do you have available to you? So the data source method here we are looking for, it gives us good definitions for the topics. Providing the number of rows and sections, we have that there. Providing cells and headers, we have that there. Inserting or deleting, those are what we're doing yesterday and today. Those are the methods we did yesterday and today, right? Deleting, the big key method is the commit for row. Ask the data source to commit the insertion or deletion of a specified row in the receiver, right? They could have written it out simpler, right? Like it allows the user to delete, right? That's basically what this does. Everybody with me? We all have the UI table view data source bookmarked, right? I slacked it out a couple times before. Yes? Okay, so those are the key methods we're looking for. So today or this morning, we'll take a look at move row at. What does move row at do? Tells the data source to move a row at a specified location in the table view. I want to move row 0 to row 4. This is the method I need. Okay? I want to delete a row. I need the commit for row method. Okay? Yes?
That method also inserts?
Yes. Inserting is different. Inserting gives you, so deleting you swipe. Inserting, you have to put the table view in inserting mode. And in inserting mode, you have a green insert control that you click on it and you could add more rows. Okay? We did not do that part. And today we might not get to that part as well because there's a lot of code there that we need to do. And with time, it's more important to show us how to reorder the rows. Okay? What does that insert control look like? Let me show you guys. We'll get to it later in curriculum, but not today. Let me show us what it looks like. So Luba's question was about inserting using the insert control. Let's see what that looks like. So insert control. Do you see the green plus arrow? So that's the insert control. So as I click on it, it adds more rows. Everybody with me? Everybody with me? By default, what we get is deletion. But we could return insertion as well. I could say when you have row 0, only use it as inserting. Everybody with me? Questions about it? Yes, sir.
So is it just an empty row?
It's like row 0, it's not an empty row, it exists. But in that particular case, it's row 0. So row 0, you return only the insert control, not delete. So only this control is existing, okay? But for today, our only purpose is to have the reordering controls show up. So I could drag unit assessment lower down or higher up. Cool? Any questions about that? Yes, sir?
And regarding the reordering table, does it require both cancel and move row at?
Good question. So Eric's question was, if we go back to our data source, Eric's question was, for reordering the table view, are we required to have both methods? No. We are required to have at least the move row at, right? The can move row at specifies, can I move row 0? If I return false, it won't have the editing control on it. Everybody with me? Everybody got that, right? Eric's question, do we need to implement both reordering table view, reordering table rows methods? No. The one we're interested in is the move row at. Move row 0 to row 5. But the first method, can move row, as it says, is can I move row 0? True or false? Because it returns a Boolean value. Do we see that?
That's if you're going to restrict.
Exactly. So if we go back to our diagram here, do we see the editing control here? The reordering control. It's not present, right, at row 0, because I returned 0. I returned false. For row 0, return false. So that doesn't give us ability to move the add event row. Everybody with me? There's many parts of table view data source. There's a lot of methods we could go through. But I want to show us the essential ones. Reordering is an essential one. Add-in, we'll get to it later. Right? Everybody? Okay. Because that itself could just be a next whole day of lecture. But we know it exists. That's my main objective. To know, to let you know that it exists, it's possible to do. Okay, cool. And point us in the right direction with the documentation. That's why I keep saying bookmark, because as we're working on our own projects, we might want to have some sort of model that does insertion this way. For now, the way we insert in our table view is using that plus symbol. Because we have a UI for it, we have a date for it, that's where we insert. Okay? We do not use the insert controls from iOS. This is built into iOS. But we use the delete. Everybody with me? Okay, cool. So let's keep going here. Everybody has a UI table view data source bookmark, correct? Yes? Okay, cool. So we run our application. Great. So we were able to delete. We confirmed that. Let's confirm that we could still add. So let's just add an event here. I'm adding an event, breakfast, 11:30. I'm saying return. I say create event. So breakfast, it adds it, right? It inserts it to the table view. That works, right? And the way we did that yesterday, we use unwind segue. So we went to the create event controller, and we added, or rather we dragged our create event button to the exit icon in Storyboard, and we connected it to our unwind segue action. Right? And as we click the return key, we update the event name, right? It unwinds to the schedule list controller, which is connected to the add new event. The unwind segue is connected to the add new event. Everybody with me? Right? It doesn't show us a connection here, but it is connected via Storyboard. So it calls this method, right? We get access to the create event controller that we're coming from. We get access to the event we created, right? And we insert the event into the events array, right, at index 0. We create an index path. Why do we create the index path? We create the index path because we need an index path to be able to insert into the table view, right? We need an index path here on line 37 because for the table view insert rows, it requires us to pass in an index path. Everybody with me? Right? And that index path, we said, that index path will exist at the top of the table view. At row 0, which is the first row, at section 0, our table view has only one section. Okay? And then we said table view, insert rows, and we were able to insert the row. Everybody with me? So with insertion, with deletion, you have two things to do. One, you need to update. We should probably write that. So one, you need to update the data model. Example, update the events array, right? And two, we need to update the table view. So two things. One, update your events array. Two, update the UI for the table view. So update the UI, update the table view, update the table view. That's fine. With deletion, we did the same thing, right? With deletion, we removed it from the events. If we go down to delete, with deletion, we removed it here. So deletion, remove item from the data model, example events. And second, update the table view. And again, this insertion here only gets called if you have access to the insertion control icon. Everybody with me? Everybody with me? That green icon I showed earlier. But the delete case here will get called when the user swipes on the row, or when we put the table view in edit mode and we have that red circle icon next to it, which we'll see very soon. So far, so good? Yes, sir.
Is there already scroll up to unwind memory part? Just I missed out.
Unwind here, right? Okay. Did everybody get step 1 and step 2 for the deletion part?
Can we swap that out?
We only did 2 comments so far.
But we started this yesterday.
Yes. That's the same one we worked on yesterday. The only thing we updated was the struct. It's in Slack. The struct for the event. The inserting only gets called if you have the green icon in your table view. It's called an insertion control. Yes?
So for unwind we can actually the button.
The button in the second,
From the second view, and we created this segue function.
yes.
So physically we don't have to connect this function.
Physically, it is connected.
But it connects automatically when you do that.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. It would be nice if Xcode gave us like a full circle here, but they don't, right? So it's a bit confusing, like, is it really connected?
So you write the function, you create the button.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
I'm getting an error in my, I'm not uploading in my, editing style, function. It says switch covers known cases.
Oh, you don't have a default. Make sure you have a default.
Oh, I have default view.
Yes. Make sure we have a default for our switch case on the editing style. Everybody?
I have it as not done.
You still have a default because what happened, there's a new update in iOS, right? That says you could mark, that's a more advanced topic, but you could mark an enum as frozen. So in the future, there could be more possibilities. So that's what you're catching now. So now there is 3 possibilities, but in the future, iOS could get updated with more possibilities, right? Like blow up cell or something. I don't know, you know. That's why. So that's why you have to use the default as opposed to just having the 3 cases. Tiffany, question.
Okay, so it's safe for me to just copy and paste what you sent on Slack
To your event.
to my event, right?
Yes.
And then after that, is there anything other than what we did yesterday that I missed? I have everything.
No other code. No other code. Only comments.
Only comments, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, cool. How are we doing so far? Right where the insert is, let's write a simple note here. For the case insert, only gets called if insertion control exists and gets selected. And I'll show us what the insertion control looks like. There's actually a document on that. Let me get it. I'll come back to the, let me Slack it, actually. Okay, so I slacked out the insertion control. What does it look like? If we click on what I slacked out, right, this is what it looks like. So the insertion control is this green plus icon. Do we see it? Right? And the deletion control we'll get when we put the table view in edit mode. Everybody with me? So if this is present on your table view, you click on it, meaning you want to add a new item to your table view. That insert case will get called. Everybody with me? Okay, cool. Great, great, great. So let's keep going here. Let's keep going. So let's go edit our storyboard. So go to our storyboard and let's edit our storyboard. Access your storyboard with the table view. The schedule list storyboard, schedule list scene. Yulia, you have it, correct? Okay. Matt? So here we want to add in a UI bar item. So let's search for bar item. So bar item, I drag it over, I double click on it, and I call it edit. So this edit button, when we click on it, it's going to toggle. We all know what toggle is now, right? I could loosely use it now, no problems. So toggle is changing between true and false, or changing states. On off, toggle, right? C-O-G-G-L-E, toggle. So I have my edit button. When I click on it, it toggles my table view to edit mode. I click on it again, it takes it out of edit mode. Okay, that's the function of that particular bar button item. We need to connect it to our view controller. So let's get access to our assistant. Let's get access to our assistant. Great, great, great. And we want to create an IB action. UI bar button. Yeah, UI bar button item, not a regular button. Let's go down to right below our last method. Not in the extension, right? Let's get some more space here. Close this, get some more space.
So right under the add new event.
Yes, right, exactly. So right under add new event. It's a new IB action. So here we'll click on our edit button. We'll control drag over to create an action. My action, the type is a UI bar button item. The name of it, I'll say edit button pressed. Edit button pressed, great. So when I press that button, I want to put my table view in edit mode. Let's go ahead and create a property called isEditingTableView. We'll create a property called isEditingTableView, and in that property, we'll have a property observer, so that when I click on it, I could set my property, and it does the configuration. So let's go up right below our events array. I'll create a variable. I'll call it isEditingTableView. I'll set it to false. It's going to take in a closure here. I'm gonna implement a didSet property observer. So when this value gets set, what do I want to do? Couple of things. I want to change edit to a different value. Like I want to change the word edit to done, for example, and vice versa. So I want to toggle my table view editing mode, and I also want to toggle what the text is in my button. Okay, so what does that look like? We have table view dot is editing. So we have a property on the table view that says a Boolean value that determines whether the table view is in editing mode, right? So that Boolean value, that's the one we'll be toggling, okay? So is editing equal to is editing table view. So whatever the value of is editing table view is, that's the value the editing will be, whether true or false. Everybody with me? And where I'm changing the is editing table view, I'm changing it when I click on the edit button. Every time I click on it, I toggle. We have the function toggle. So every time I click on it, I toggle what the value of is editing table view is. So if it's true, I toggle it. What's the value, Cassandra? False. If it's false and I toggle it, what's the value, Lilia? True. Everybody with me? Right? Cool. So that's good. Next thing I want to do, so here we say toggle table view, toggle editing mode of table view. And also we want to toggle bar button items title between edit and done. So how do we do that? We do that via the navigation item. So remember, the navigation item has right bar button item. Everybody with me? The navigation item I'm referring to, it has a title property. It has a right bar button item property. It has a left bar button item property. Everybody with me? This is the navigation item. The navigation item is in the navigation bar. Okay? So every view controller has access to the navigation item property. Everybody with me? Okay? So navigation item dot, what do we want to get access to? Left bar button. Very good, sir. And I want to get access to its title. And I want to change its title. So if is editing table view is true, I want to set it to done. If it's false, I want to set it to edit. What operator are we using here? Ternary operator, right? So what it says is if my, where am I? If is editing is true. That's the first statement it looks at. Everybody. First statement it looks at, if is editing table view is true, look at the statement after the question mark, which is done here, and assign the title done. If it's false, go after the colon and use edit and pass edit to the title. Everybody with me? That's what it does. So if I'm in edit mode, I want to change the title to done. So the user knows, okay, I'm done, I click done. When the user clicks done, it goes back to edit, meaning the title name edit. Yes?
So because we're still on the variable, so technically it's like not completely set yet, is that why it won't come up with the texting when you're writing?
Yes. Okay, so we are good. We know what we're doing here. Actually, we still have more to do. Are we all done coding? Okay, so let's scroll down. Right in our edit button pressed, we'll simply say is editing. What do we have? We have a sender. So is editing table view. Is editing table view. We'll simply say dot toggle. And again, that's a nice utility function that we have now in iOS 5.0, right? Where 5.0 or 5.1, I can't exact. I think 5.0. This toggle basically does a change between true and false. That's all it does. On a Boolean value, every time you call it, it switches from true to false or false to true. Everybody with me? Right, so this is toggle. Toggle toggles a Boolean value. So toggle swaps, changes Boolean value. Everybody, we good? Yes? Okay. All right, let's run it and test out at least the functionality of our edit button. Like, does it do what it should be doing? So we run our app, we have our edit button. Let's click on it. Ah, look at that. It puts our table view in edit mode. We know we're in edit mode because now we have the red icons on the left. I could click on one of those red icons and delete. Everybody? If I click done, it takes it out of edit mode. Okay, so that works. Any questions?
I do have a question. Okay, so it goes into that edit mode when.
We click the edit button.
Right.
And we put it in edit mode because of this one line of code here on line 21.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. By saying table view that is editing equal true, we put it in edit mode. Everybody with that? Right? That's the one line that does it. And when I say table view that is editing is false, it takes it out of edit mode.
And edit mode, again, it's that property that gives it that red line.
Exactly. Exactly. Everybody with me? Cool. Any other questions? All right, let's continue on. So we have our edit mode. Great, great, great. Next up, let's go ahead and implement reordering. Where are we here? Let me take out white spaces here. Table view source. We have, so this one is deleting rows, right? We have that. Let's go right at the bottom here and do a new pragma mark. I'm at the very bottom after our commit style method. We'll implement a next protocol method from our UI table view data source. Yes?
Sorry, just another question. So before we use the table view to swipe, it's in the table view method.
We could still swipe.
No, granted, I know, but that's in the table view method. Everything's
Yeah, that's the one that gives us access to that.
and the code that gives you access to being able to swipe is the editing style. It's
Yes,
the gives you-
exactly.
And then delete rows is what makes you be able to swipe it and press delete itself. Or just swiping.
The deleting code is what actually removes it from the data, from the event, yes. Okay, so here we have reordering rows in a table view. And for that particular method, as we saw earlier on our documentation, the method we're after is called move row at. So you could simply start typing move row at and press enter, right? So this is the method we're after. What does that method do? It tells the data source we have access to moving rows, right? Without that, we don't have access to the editing control, so we could move rows or reorder rows. So simply go ahead and type in move row at. Doesn't return anything. So simply saying move row at gives us access to the editing, the thumb editing controls there. Not editing controls, but reordering controls. Not editing controls. What's that? After the delete function, yes. We have a new pragma mark here. We call it reordering rows in a table view. So if you run your app now, and you put it in edit mode, you should have access to the thumb reordering buttons. Everybody? So already we could reorder rows, right? Right? But we have more code to do because that's not enough. We need to also do it for the events array, right? So we have access to reordering already by simply implementing the method. Not even implementing it, just simply writing the function out. Any questions? Yes?
So when you make the table view edit mode, does it actually remove the edit from off?
We have to do that. It doesn't automatically do it. We have to go ahead and write code to do it.
So would the app eventually crash, and that's the case if it's trying to?
It's not going to crash, but when you run the app again, it's going to be in the same mode. I mean, it's going to be in the order before. Like if I move row 0 to row 10,
Right.
and I do not write any code in my move row at,
Right.
it's not going to change the data. So I go out of that page, I come back, it's going to be in that same order, the first order we had before we did the reordering.
Oh, meaning like on somebody's app, like they deleted it, they'll open it back up and it'll still be there?
Yes.
Uh,
Let's go here. Everybody got me? So if I say move row 0 to move row 10, visually it does it. But we need to go ahead and do it on the events as well, the events array. Okay? If you don't do it on the events array, you go out of that particular view, you come back, the ordering will be as you had before. Okay? So we have to go a step further here. Let's talk about what parameters we have. We have the table view. We know what the table view is. We have two index paths. Let's pay attention to that. One index path is the source. Where am I coming from? I'm coming from index 0, for example. Where am I going to? I'm going to index 5. Everybody with me? So those are the two indices we have, or two index paths we have access to. It makes sense. We need access to those, right? And it says source index path. Source is where am I coming from? Source index path, where am I coming from? Am I coming from, in our case with unit 1 assessment, I'm coming from row 0. This is the source index path. Where am I going? I'm going to, what is this, 3? I'm going to index path row 3. Everybody with me? This is the destination. Okay? That's where I'm going. That's the two index paths we have access to. Any questions? Okay, so here we'll say let event to move. We want to capture the event we move in. We'll say events, and we'll say source index path. Save the event being moved. So the event to move, right? Because we want to save it, we don't want to override it. We don't want to lose it. Because what happens next is we want to say events.remove at the source index path dot row. We want to remove it from that particular section. For example, we're removing unit 1 assessment. We're moving it from 0 to 5. We want to remove that element in the array. Right? First remove the element, well, first save the element. First save the element that we're removing. Once we save it, we could do anything we want with it. Then we remove it from the events array. So we remove the unit 1 assessments from the events array. We remove it from the events array. And lastly, we say events, insert it in the correct, insert the event to move here, events to move in the correct index. So the correct index is destination, index path.row. Okay? That's all we're doing. Because we saw before we run the code, visually, the table view does it for us. I move iOS Soho right below Ladies Who Code. I did that. That's only on the table view UI. Everybody with me? But I also need to handle the data. If you move the table view UI, you have to also update the data. Does that make sense? Is there any questions about that? Yes, sir.
Destination index path is built in?
Yes.
Yes, right.
It knows where we're going. Thank God it does, because we'd have more work to do, right? So it knows where we're going. It knows that drag. I dragged from 0 to 2, right? So what am I doing with my data? I'm saying move, right? Move that data I'm reordering, move it from the array, and reinsert it into the destination. Everybody with me?
Because we're doing it in parallel, right? We're doing it in the vision, and then we're doing it into the actual.
Exactly. Visually, that's what the user is doing. Visually, the user is moving the row. And code-wise, we are doing the model part of it, the data. Exactly. Exactly. So let's go ahead and run our app. Run my app, go into edit mode, move my review over to right below unit assessment, click on done, right? If I go out and I come back, my review UI table should still be in the third row. Everybody with me? So I go back, well, the 4th row, because we'll add a new item. So keep track of review where it is. I go here, I create some item, I say test. I click on return, I click on create, right? So review stays where it was before. Everybody with me? Right? Everybody with me? Okay, so that holds as well. So far we have edited, we're able to delete through our edit mode. We're able to reorder our table view. I'm able to remove CocoaPods from 0. I'm able to move CocoaPods from 0 to wherever I want it to go. Click done, and it stays where it is. Everybody with me? Okay. Any questions about reordering table views? Yes, sir.
So the other rows know to keep this data. Like let's say you move index path 0 to 3, does index path 1 that now is currently 0 know that its data is at the first?
Yes, because what did we do? Because we said in our logic, we
Oh,
said
that applies to all the rows.
yes. So the only change we're doing to that table view for now. Take a look. So if I'm moving unit assessment,
Yeah.
this is row 0, correct? I'm removing it from row 0 to say row 3, right? The only 2 rows that are affected, right? If I remove, remember I removed an item,
Yeah.
so review UI table view becomes item 0,
Yeah.
right? And now my unit 2 assessment is row 3. Everybody with me? Nothing else got affected. Nothing else doesn't care about its position. The only 2 positions that got affected was the position that got moved up to 0, and our item got moved to row 2, row 3, right? Any questions about reordering? Yes.
What happens in the case of like sections?
In sections,
Yeah.
you would have to get access to the section and that row you want to move.
But people move, like, wouldn't move it straight.
Remember, you have index path that section, so you'd have to get access to index path that section, that row.
No, I know, but like, let's say we remove like something that was originally sectioned in a certain area, and moved to a different section with that, like,
It doesn't affect anything else. Like if you move in like our Game of Thrones, for example, you move some episode from section 1 to section 2.
yeah.
You're just removing the rows. So you have access to the source in section, that row, and you move into destination section, that row.
I know, I'm just saying, cause like, since they're like, they're.
You remember you have to affect the data too.
Yeah.
So you need to, as long as your data is in sync, everything is good. You need to make sure your data is in sync. If you move in it, you need to make sure that your episodes or your episodes array is also in sync. So move it to that correct section. Amini?
Yeah.
Right? Yes?
So if we didn't have lines 93, 94, and 95,
Right.
it would not save
It would not save the position in our array.
So
So if I was to kill the app, assuming that we saved our data, if I was to kill the app and come back, it would be in the original position. Okay? Good question. So I think that's about it for today with modifying tables. We're able to delete rows, right? We're able to delete rows. We're able to insert a new item into our table view. Right? We're able to reorder our rows. Right? We're able to toggle our editing mode of our table view. Everybody with me? Okay? So we'll stop here. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll stop here.